Welcome back to my channel. I'm Beth Morgan, the Poor Valley Princess, and today we're talking again about Appalachian sayings. Things that we say here in Appalachia that I guess we just take for granted that everyone knows what we're talking about, but maybe you do not. So I'm going to share some of the phrases that we use around here, and if you use it in a different part of the world, I would love to hear about it. So the first one, and I think I might have mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but this one I have found myself saying quite often recently, and that is "Lawsy mercy, lawsy mercy." And that just is short or kind of slang for "Lord have mercy," which is a prayer that evidently I needed to pray quite a bit recently, because laws and mercy has come out of my mouth more than once in the past few weeks. Another one is "Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise." Now in our part of Appalachia, that has been so true in recent months with all of the devastation that came with the hurricane coming through our mountains and everything. I mean, I never thought that the creek would rise the way it did, but God knows all, right? So good Lord willing, if God deems it to be so, and the creek don't rise, if we can get out of our little hills and hollers and valleys, then we're good to do whatever it is that you're asking us to do. Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Another one that my papa used to say to me was, if you get up and you're stretching or whatever, and you just can't stretch enough, he would say, "I'd run a mile if I didn't have to walk back." And he said that to me often, actually. "I'd run a mile if I didn't have to walk back." And so that's kind of how I feel this evening. I'd run a mile if I didn't have to walk back. One that is about people who are a little tight with their money. Their wallet squeaks when they open it because it doesn't get very much use, is "You can't get blood out of a turnip," right? You can't squeeze a turnip enough to get blood out of it. So if people are a little tight with their money, you can't get blood out of a turnip. "It's a hard row to hoe." Now this one, coming from a gardener, this one really strikes home. It's a hard row to hoe. Back in the day, people had huge gardens, and they might start on one end of a row of, let's say, corn, and they might start hoeing that row of corn, and at, first thing in the morning, as soon as the sun come up and the dew was drying, they might start hoeing that row and keep going and not get to the end of it until, say, like lunchtime, where somebody might meet them with some lunch. I know my papa would talk about Mama coming out with cold biscuits and apple butter or whatever meat they had for breakfast, side meat. She'd have that on a little biscuit and bring him some water, and he would have a midday snack, and then he'd start on another row, coming back down the other way and work until dinner time, till time to come in. And so a hard row, that's a hard row to hoe. I get tired, and my little garden is only, 50 feet. So I can't imagine doing some of the really long rows that they did back then. But yeah, it's a hard row to hoe. Just means it's difficult. Another one, and I use this one at school quite often, is "You get what you get and you don't throw a fit." Or I've heard other people say, "You get what you get and you don't pitch a fit." But the one that I've started using recently, and I love this one just because of how it makes the kids think, because they're used to hearing the other one. They're used to hearing, "You get what you get, you don't pitch a fit." But the one I've started using just in the last few years is, "You get what you get and you're thankful for it." And I say that, and then all the kids are like, "Thank you, Miss Morgan. Thank you, Miss Morgan." And it just makes them be a little bit more grateful, I think, when I'm handing them things. You get what you get and you're thankful for it. That's a good one. You should write that one down. Or how about this one? Used to could. Used to could. That means I once could do it. I used to could. We here in the Appalachian Mountains do tend to run our words and phrases together. We drop letters and combined words into one word. My papa was horrible about doing that. He would do that with people's names and everything. Just completely drop letters or even change the letters. Um, but that's just part of the culture here of living in rural Appalachia. Another one that I think is, I don't know that this one is just Appalachian, but I've heard it all my life. What can't be cured must be endured. That's a good one. If you can't cure it, you just got to endure it. And then right after that, my mom would say, God won't give you more than you can handle. Right? On the other hand, there are some signs and things that we do look for here in the Appalachian Mountains, and I'm going to share a few of those with you today. I've got this fun book recently. It's called Old Time Country Wisdom and Lore, Thousands of Skills for Simple Living and Old Fangled Know-How. And many of the things that I have found in this book are things that I grew up with. So here are the signs of fair weather. And I don't know about you, but I'm about over the cold weather. I'm ready for one more good snow. Really, I would love just one more good snow. They bring on spring. I'm kind of getting a little garden fever. I may have to do a video on my seeds and things that I'm getting ready to start for the upcoming year's garden, because I'm getting that garden fever. But I digress. Back to, here are signs of fair weather. If just before the sunrise, the undersides of the eastern clouds turn to pink or to rose, and eventually the whole sky flushes, fair weather will always follow. And that's biblical, because red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. Let's see. A clear sunset is a sign of good weather. A rainbow in the evening says fair weather will follow. Soft, fluffy clouds means fine weather to come. Wind from the west brings fine weather. Good weather comes with high clouds. When morning fog burns off or disappears by noon, expect a fair weather day. Rainbow to windward, foul falls the day. Rainbow to leeward, rain runs away. I like that one. I've never heard that one, but I really like that. And then here are some signs of dry weather. Heavy dew in the early morning means that dry weather will follow. A north wind brings dry air. I've heard that one a lot. And a dry summer will follow a winter with few storms and blizzards. And then here's a good one for right now. Signs of spring and summer, because we are looking for the spring to come. Here are signs of spring. When trees split their bark in the winter, it will be a dry, hot spring. Thunderstorms that come before the 7 in the morning in April and May foretell a wet summer. When snow drifts face to the north, spring will arrive early. When the hay in the fields leans to the northeast, summer will be hot and long. And then I ran into this little section where it talks about being spick and span, tips for cleaning and different things like that. So here's a few that I found really interesting. Beds. A good way to shine unvarnished brass beds is to rub them with half of a lemon dipped in table salt. After washing them in hot water and drying them well, rub the brass with rotten stone. I don't even know what rotten stone is, but that's very interesting. Maybe you've heard of what that is. And then another one is bottles and jars. And I may try this one because I'm always trying to save my jars that I buy. To remove odor from bottles and jars, fill them with a solution of water and dry mustard. Let that stand for several hours and then rinse in hot water. I'm going to try that one. And how about this one for cocoa stains? Soak the article stained with cocoa in a mixture of water and borax to remove discoloration. That one I do all the time. Borax is a staple in my laundry room. That and Fells naphtha. If you raise boys, you know what these two things are, right? Especially if you had a sport boy. Mine played baseball, and I cannot tell you the times I have rubbed and rubbed the Fells naphtha on to those knees, right? So that's interesting. You take the cocoa stains out. Here's there was another one down here I thought was really neat. Glue. And as a teacher, I get glue on my clothing, on my skin often. I went to get my nails done a few months ago, and she said, "What have you been doing today?" I had glue all around my fingers. And so this is an interesting way to get glue off of fabrics. Use a cloth dipped in vinegar to remove the glue from the fabrics. Thought that was interesting. And then grease spots. Stale grease can be removed with wood alcohol. Rinse the garment, scrub it up with yellow soap, and give it a thorough rinsing in hot water. Piano keys. Clean piano keys by using a piece of silk cloth barely moistened with alcohol. Some of these things I can't imagine. Thanks for joining me here again on the Poor Valley Princess. I'm Beth Morgan, and it is such a joy to spend the evening with you. Would you please, make a comment at the bottom if you have ever heard of some of these tips that I gave you from my new book, or perhaps you have some Appalachian sayings that you'd like to share, or maybe even a story about one of the ones that I shared with you today. I hope you come back and visit me again soon. It's a joy sharing my life here in Appalachia with you. See you next time.